Chapter 9, The Three Purities Scriptures. The so-called Three Purities refer to jade purity, supreme purity, and grand purity, the highest realms among all celestial domains of Taoism. They represent three revered deities dwelling in the immortal lands of the Three Purities, the primordial Lord of jade purity, the spiritual treasure Lord of supreme purity, and the moral Lord of grand purity. I believe everyone is familiar with these three divine beings. Simply put, the legendary Three Purities scriptures are arcane Taoist arts left in the mortal world by these three immortals upon attaining enlightenment. Each volume records the profound mystic arts mastered respectively by the three deities. Divided into three manuscripts, they are Three Purities Plainclothes Talisman Arts, Three Purities Plainclothes Divination of Wonders, and Three Purities Plainclothes Prophecy Divination. Lost to the passage of time, these three ancient tomes long vanished without a trace. As mentioned earlier, Mr. Liu, who once helped my grandparents, had an ancestor who discovered the Three Purities prophecy divination in a serpent cave decades ago. It contains unfathomable divination techniques. Those who cultivate its arts can perceive the fates of heaven and earth. Gifted with extraordinary talent, Mr. Liu integrated the hexagrams of divination with the talisman arts he had learned, creating a new charm, the Heaven Mountain Great Accumulation Formation Unlocking Talisman. Regrettably, misfortunes befell his family in his son's generation, and the Liu clan has ceased fortune-telling and karmic interpretation for others ever since. The Heaven Mountain Great Accumulation is one of the classic hexagrams. Great Accumulation signifies the gathering and amassing of power, bearing the omen of a broken siege and unblocked paths. Legend holds that this hexagram originates from the Shang dynasty. When Guangqingzi was trapped in the lamp formation of the 10 absolute barriers, he summoned the heavenly overturning seal to shatter the formation and break through the encirclement. Those who draw this hexagram shall face no further obstacles or hindrances. The Three Purities talisman, arts passed down to me by Uncle Nine, preserves the talisman techniques bequeathed by the spiritual treasure lord. Talismans stand as the foundation of the 5 esoteric arts: mountain cultivation, medicine, divination, fate calculation, and physiognomy. They serve as the medium and bridge for Taoist practitioners to communicate with heaven and the spirit realm. When wielded proficiently, talismans wield immense power, just as Uncle Nine did in life. One may even alter the flow of underground water veins. Yet the greater the power of a talisman, the heavier the price it demands. The laws of heaven can never be bent by mortal will. To put it plainly, there is no such thing as a free lunch in this world. The remaining Three Purities wondrous arts records countless lost ancient arts of Qimen Duanjia, accessible only to those of exceptional wisdom. Peerlessly mystical, it is said that masters of this craft can fold paper into horses and scatter beans to summon soldiers, capable of traversing heaven and earth at will. I had heard of Qimen Duanjia back in high school. A program on China Central Television's Channel 10 once covered it. It is an overwhelmingly complex discipline that conjures miraculous phenomena through the permutation and shifting of 3 core elements: odd gates, celestial hinges, and concealed stems, granting practitioners the ability to foresee future events. Sadly, this ancient art recorded in Three Purities wondrous arts has long faded into obscurity. Zhuge Wulong, the famed strategist, was said to be a grand master of Qimen Duanjia. Every formation he devised was profoundly mysterious, and he famously crafted wooden oxen and running horses to serve his needs. However, centuries have passed, leaving no tangible evidence to verify these tales. 2 days later, Uncle Nine judged the time to be right, the hour of the ox in the mortal world, when Yin energy reaches its peak. It was time for me to send a dream to my family. He bade me sit on a stool, instructing me in detail on what I must tell my loved ones. Then he formed a sword finger with his right hand and pressed it against my spirit hall acupoint. "Close your eyes," he said, "and silently recite the names of your kin 3 times. As long as they slumber, you may enter their dreams. Nervous and uneasy, I shut my eyes. I knew exactly who I longed to reach the most. I whispered in my heart, "Grandmother, grandmother, grandmother." Darkness enveloped my vision before faint light emerged through the haze. I walked forward and soon spotted my grandmother, lying asleep on her heated brick bed. Her hair had turned far whiter than I remembered. Overwhelmed by emotion, I burst into tears. The bizarre ordeals of these past days had weighed heavily on my shoulders, unbearable for a 17-year-old boy. Faced with my only family, tears came naturally, perhaps a sign of my weakness. Yet I knew I could not weep now. Uncle Nine had warned me I would only have 5 minutes in the dream, after which I would be pulled back to the underworld city. Wiping away my tears, I gently shook her. "Grandmother, wake up." My grandmother's eyes fluttered open, locking onto my figure standing before her. The elderly lady broke down in tears at once. She rose, caressing my face softly, and asked, "Xiao Fei, when did you wake?" Her sorrow tore at my heart, and I fought hard to hold back my tears. I would cry freely only after returning to the mortal realm. I spoke softly, "Grandmother, I haven't woken yet." She pressed me for answers, but time was fleeting, leaving no room for lengthy explanations. I told her plainly, if she wished for me to awaken, she must wait until the hour of noon tomorrow, between 11 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. She should inscribe my name and birth chart on a yellow rooster, tie one of its claws with a 90-meter red silk cord, and take the bird to the crossroad closest to the hospital. After releasing the rooster and letting it run 90 meters, she must shout my name 9 times, swiftly reel in the cord, and hurry back to my hospital room with the rooster in her arms. Only then would I awaken. Once conscious, I would recover fully after drinking a medicinal stew brewed with ginseng, atractylodes, porreacocos, and roasted licorice. My grandmother begged to ask more questions, but the 5 minutes ended in an instant. An irresistible force dragged me backward. Tears streaming down my cheeks, I shouted loudly, "Don't forget, grandmother!" When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the underworld city. I gazed up at the perpetually gloomy sky, watching faceless souls in black robes drift in and out of the half-step inn. In that moment, I understood the true terror of death. To perish meant abandoning everything. Ordinary, trivial things taken for granted in life become infinitely precious once lost. For the first time in my life, I realize how precious my family is. "I miss home," I said to Uncle Nine. He nodded, patting my shoulder gently. "It is not too late for you to understand this. You still have a long life ahead." For the next 10 days, I devoted myself entirely to learning the 3 purities scriptures under his guidance. I cared nothing for slaying demons, preserving ancient legacies, or safeguarding the world. None of those mattered to me. My only motive was to repay Uncle Nine's life-saving kindness, a debt far greater than ordinary gratitude. Yet, the 3 purities scriptures held unfathomable mysteries far beyond the comprehension of an ordinary teenager like me. I resolved to memorize every word of the texts, planning to study them in depth on my own with Uncle Nine's tips after returning to life. Curiously, my memory in this soul form was astonishingly sharp. Not quite photographic, but I could retain every detail after reading a passage 4 or 5 times, impossible to forget. In merely 7 days, 14 hours in mortal time, I had memorized all 365 pages of the 3 Purities Talisman arts flawlessly. I could not help but marvel at this ability. If I retained such a memory after reviving, my future would be boundless. Top universities would be mine for the choosing. Uncle Nine soon dispelled my hopes, however. He explained that my heightened memory stemmed from knowledge being etched directly into one of my souls, permanent and unchanging. Once my soul and essence returned to my body, my faculties would revert to normal. Worse, the separation of soul and body would leave lasting damage, dulling my memory in the years to come. His words filled me with dismay. Free from the need for sleep, I finished memorizing the scriptures in record time, and Uncle Nine began teaching me the fundamentals of Taoism. He stood with his hands behind his back, his expression grave and earnest, and asked, "Xiao Fei, before I initiate you into Taoist cultivation, I must ask you one final question. All who walk the Taoist path are fated to suffer one of the 5 calamities and 3 deficiencies. Should you choose this path, your destiny shall be sealed, and you will face lifelong regrets. Have you truly made up your mind?" How could I possibly have made up my mind? Even the mighty Mr. Liu had fallen victim to karmic misfortune and died young. Having narrowly escaped death, I had no desire for an early grave. Though gentle by nature, I possessed a stubborn streak. My father had taught me since childhood. A true man never turns his back on a debt of gratitude. I was no gentleman, yet Uncle Nine had granted me a second chance at life. After waiting alone for decades in this desolate underworld, how could I deny his final wish? Besides, the 5 calamities and 3 deficiencies numbered 8 fates in total. The odds of me falling victim to one were slim. With resolve, I answered firmly, "Master, I have made my choice. I choose to learn.